This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
I, along with much of the nation, especially the growing ranks of what would later be called the baby boom generation, was swept up by the Crockett frenzy. We wanted more. And more came in the form of an unprecedented merchandising whirlwind in which Crockett was commercialized in ways that would have been unthinkable to the man himself. Every kid had to have a coonskin cap like Davy's, and almost overnight the wholesale prices of raccoon pelts soared from 25 cents a pound to $6, with the sale of at least 10 million furry caps. Within only months of the series premiere, more than $100 million was spent on at least 3,000 different Crockett items, including pajamas, lunchboxes, underwear, comics, books, moccasins, toothbrushes, games, clothing, toy rifles, sleds, and curtains. The catchy theme song, The Ballad of Davy Crockett, sold more than 4 million copies and remained number 1 on the top 10 list for 13 weeks. On May 7, 1955, I wore my coonskin hat when Giselle McKenzie sang the top tune of the week on Your Hit Parade. Like every one of my pals, I knew the words were true. We sang Crockett's ballad at the top of our lungs as we built forts from old Christmas trees and cardboard boxes, transforming the neighborhood into our own version of Crockett country. Davy Crockett quickly became our obsession. Until he came into our lives, we had mostly played cowboys and Indians. Other times, we went to war as pretend soldiers, using the helmets and canteens our fathers and uncles brought home from the war. The nearby woods, where we skinny dipped in the creek, turned into our hunting ground for imaginary ferocious bears like the ones Davy stalked. The dusty hill topped by a stand of oaks on the edge of the playground became our Alamo, and every day we pretended that we were in pitched battle against the forces of Santa Anna. We became Davy Crockett, William Travis, and Jim Bowie, the trio of legendary Alamo heroes. No one wanted to be with the Mexican side, so our enemy, as if borrowing a page from the Cold War, was largely invisible. In the end, we died anyway, just as our heroes did so long ago. But we knew we would miraculously be resurrected and come back the next day for another round of combat. The following year, in the summer of 1955, Walt Disney unveiled his fantasy world, Disneyland, in Southern California. But our family, eager to introduce me to the historical origins of Davy Crockett, opted not to go west on Route 66 and visit the Magic Kingdom. Instead, we headed due south out of St. Louis to the state of Tennessee. Proudly wearing my new coonskin hat, with Mom riding shotgun and Dad at the helm of our dark green 1952 Plymouth, dubbed the Green Dragon, we cruised into real Crockett country. After crossing the Mississippi River and entering Tennessee, we skirted Reelfoot Lake, studded with cypress trees, not far from the last place that Crockett called home. In Nashville, we saw the Regal Capitol and the cavernous Ryman Auditorium, at that time home of the Grand Ole Opry. We paused at the Hermitage, the residence and final resting place of President Andrew Jackson, a Crockett political mentor who was to become his student's chief nemesis. During those dozen or so days spent traversing my new hero's old stomping grounds, we experienced Southern culture, the South that carries on with its own state of mind. We dined on crunchy Southern fried chicken, catfish and hush puppies, country ham, biscuits and gravy, and pecan pie. I even recall that we sampled those creamy grits that came on every breakfast plate, whether ordered or not. When we tangled with succulent Delta barbecue, I pretended it was bear steak. At Chattanooga, near the Tennessee-Georgia line, we obeyed the commands of the signs that seemed to be painted on every barn rooftop. See beautiful Rock City and 7 states from atop Lookout Mountain. Everywhere we went, we also saw flags and decals bearing the Confederacy stars and bars, as if the Civil War had not ended 90 years before. And in every town we drove through, life-size stone likenesses of Confederate soldiers stood at ease in the tidy courthouse squares, where old men in open-collar white shirts and straw hats sat cross-legged and traded yarns about the past. The tableau seemed endless. From the car windows I watched harvest hands stooped in the fields, tending cotton that once was